Okay, I wanted to talk about the cherry tree and what I did with the negative painting on that, because I sent you all something, but I want to talk about it a little bit because, in essence, you're going to be doing some of the same things to the painted surfaces that you just prepared. We're also going to be adding, when this is kind of dry, to box number 2, the one that's just the plain color, we're going to be adding some masking fluid to that, so that when you put a darker color over and then you draw whatever you're drawing on there, then in this case it's going to be leaves, and you want to see some of that light green or that whatever color you've put down come through, that's what the masking fluid's going to do. So let me go and show you. Okay, on here, what I did, well, let me go back here for a minute. What I did was I went outside and looked at the cherry tree, and you can see this kind of blossom that's from one of the bloom. Well, there goes another one. There goes a blossom that came off the tree. So when I looked at my painting, I said, what can possibly add some interest here? So I took the blossoms and I just I laid them on top of the painting just to see positioning. And then I pulled them off and went back in there and just painted around them. And that is negative painting. Do you see that there's a lot of darker pink around these different blossoms? And then as the last step, because they had those tiny little veins, I went back in and painted the veins on top of the surface that was showing through. Okay, so negative painting can kind of add another dimension to your work. Absolutely. Okay, I think there's a good example in the group. I don't know, is Kate available? Is she here? Okay, well, I can't tell. All right, Kate is working on these lily pads.
I am here.
You're there, Kate?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Kate is working on these lily pads, and Kate, you are using negative painting in here, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see, like, she put down, you know, a color for the lily pad, and then went back in and is giving the patterns in negative painting, and that's what that's about. This is going to be beautiful, Kate. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice job. Are you happy so far?
Yeah, this is actually my third try on doing this image, and this one I'm pretty happy with.
Good. You should be. It's nice. Okay. There's another thing I wanted to show you here as an example. I hope you can see it. You see these patterns that are on the bottom? Well, almost all of them are kind of negative painting. Like this one had a light blue, and then they went back in with the dark blue on top, and they didn't paint the actual thing first. They painted the image around it first. Same thing over here with this green flower. There was a color put down, and then they painted on top of that color. And sometimes you can do it in several layers. It doesn't have to be just one layer. Like we're going to be doing, you know, 1 or 2 layers today because it has to do with drying time. That's the issue there. Now these flowers, see the color of the flowers? They're probably really light blue. So that was put down as the surface, like our box number 2, where we have that light green. So imagine that you put down light blue, and then you went back in and put this kind of a purpley blue around it, and that made the light blue flower come through. So that's negative painting. Do you have a question, Camille? Can we unmute Camille for a minute? Camille,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Do we use the masking fluid in this process?
Not always. The
Oh.
thing I'm showing you right now doesn't have anything to do with masking fluid.
Okay.
This is just one color layer on top of another color. And that's going to be part of our demonstration today as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Okay?
you.
All right. So everybody got that. I wanted to go back to some of the work just briefly that has been coming coming through to me, and just say that, you know, I think things are moving along, and I think everybody's like getting why we're doing a palette, why we're creating a grid, and then finally why we get to the final painting. I'm just going to show some of these. I hope that no one minds. This is Doris. Okay, and as you can see, you know, the photograph, the palette, and the grid. But look at the relationship. That's mainly what I'm showing you, the relationship of what was done first, what happened second, what happened third. That you can see the connection, and it's a good one. And after a while, all of this will come natural to you, and you don't even have to. I always do a palette. I don't always do a grid, but I always do a palette, so I know what's ahead of me, which is a good habit to get into. Let's see, here's another one. This is Joanne's. I think we looked at this because we talked about the foil versus the plastic. Remember that? So we can see all of that going on. This is Candy. She's doing some lilacs. But look how, you know, look how nice, and see the relationship. I don't think this one's finished yet. I think she's still in progress. Here's Cheryl. Okay. And same thing happening here. I talked to Cheryl a little bit about values and lights and darks. And when you send me something, which I think most of you have, I try to comment not so much on whether I like or dislike the painting, but many times I do like the painting. Just trying to help you make it a better painting. Better painting. Here's one, Camille. Here you are, Camille. Now, Camille decided, don't be shy. Camille decided that, you know, although this is here because of probably my printer, it's coming out on the pink side, but it was more, I think, fall, like rustic. But here, you know, photograph, the grid in her sketchbook. But, you know, there's something nice about every single one of these. And no matter what.
Sorry.
Who is that? Okay, here's Beth. Beth did something very interesting. You know, I had sent the original cherry tree in its whole, and then I had sent like some close-ups. So when she did her original tree, then she tried the close-up at the bottom, which is a really good thing to experience, because it's certainly different, but it carries the character of the flower more. Okay. And the last one I have so far is another Beth of the wind chimes, which, you know, the palette, the grid, the painting. Okay. All right. So I think we're all moving in the right direction, which is great. I wanted to talk a little bit about the flat wash and how difficult it can be at times. I started one of these paintings where I don't know whether there's some kind of a pod, and they have these really skinny, long. I may even have the actual pod itself, but what I was trying to do here was actually do a flat wash in the background, and it's, you know, it's tricky, and sometimes other things happen. You know, like you may get a blossom line. But I think they add interest. They add interest to your paintings. Whether you want them or not, they sometimes just happen. But I'm going to do a little bit of a demonstration on a flat wash right now. So if we could switch, that would be good. Okay. How's everybody's washes? Are they drying? Pretty good?
Trying.
Okay, takes time. That's the magic word in watercolor. And you know what? If the box number 2 is dry before we get to the other, we'll start with that one. Okay, here we are. This is going to be a flat wash demonstration. Now, I had mixed up a color. Where are we? Here. I had mixed up a color and quite a bit of it in this jar. Because when you do a flat wash, no matter what side, and I'm not going to be doing a big area, but I just want to show you the technique to doing a flat wash. Okay? But you get some kind of a container. It can be not this much, but it can be this much. Okay? Either way, it would work. In fact, what I'm going to do, bless you. Somebody's sneezing. Okay, I'm going to pour this in here because it's a little easier to work with. But know that always make more than you think you need. That's for sure. Okay. And when you're preparing your paint for the flat wash, you prepare it in whatever kind of cup you want to work in, and then you add the paint to it. And you also want to be able to test that paint, see the color before you go at it. Okay. And I always tell you to have a test piece of paper. So, do we like that color? Yeah, I think it's kind of nice. It's good for a flat wash, and it's dark. The darks are a little harder. Now I noticed, Kate, on your lily pads, how did you attack that? Can you tell us?
The wash?
Yeah, like around. Yeah, I know you painted your lilies first. And then you went in and did some of that background wash, right?
That's right. And I mixed up a lot. I don't know if you can see me, but I mixed up a lot of wash.
Okay.
And first I went like section by section. You know, each of these sections that are defined by the stems.
Okay.
I painted each one going across. And you know, the color wasn't completely even. I didn't want it to be completely even.
No, because it's kind of watery.
Yeah, I mixed a little, I took some of the wash that I had and put it on the palette, mixed a little more green in it. And then the other thing is after it was all dry, I did it again.
On top.
Because it was a little pale.
Okay, all right. And that's pretty tricky to go back and do a wash on top of another, on top of a dry wash. If you can control it, it's pretty good. Okay, I've just created like these boxes so we can see, how to get this in here. Now, so the wash is here. So the most important thing with an overall wash is to keep it going. So here's the paint. And you want to continue see your kind of puddle, moving it down the page. You might need to load up your brush again. You don't have to stay inside the box, but I just wanted to give you a little. Okay. So that's more or less a flat wash. And when that dries, it's going to even out and be just what you want it to be, hopefully. And, you can paint on top of that, like we're going to be painting on top of our box number 2. Okay, now what if you want to do something where this is gradated, where it goes from darker to lighter? Like you may have a sky that does that. You may have, I don't know, any surface that becomes gradated. Well, what you need to do is you need to obviously start darker at the top. We can see, right? Okay, it's darker. Now you're going to just add a little water. Okay, so we see the difference, dark to light. Can everybody give that a shot? Do you have some paper that you can try a flat wash and then a gradated wash?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we'll try to do that together. I can do it again at the top here. Oh, what if our gradation goes across the page? Across the page. You want to do something where it goes from dark to lighter, to lighter, and you're just adding water in between. Now, what if you see this puddle on the end? What if you don't like that puddle on the end there? Well, dry off your brush, and you can carefully try to pick up some of the color with the end of the brush. And it often works. So you can see, you can go dark to light, and flat wash. Okay? All right, any questions? I'm looking at the question box here. Any questions so far? No questions so far. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go, while this is drying and while our other piece is drying, I'm going to go back to one I had prepared before we got together today. I took, it's curling up a little bit now. This is the one that's box number 2, which is our overall plain color, and this is box number 1. Okay, so what happens after you do your plain color and it's dry, take your leaf or leaves and you put them down, and you want to trace around carefully with pencil. Okay? And then what I did, because I want some of this light green that's in this background to come through and make the veins, I took my masking fluid in the little bottle and I put those in, and it's pretty dry now, so I can probably show you what's going to happen on top of this. Okay? The other side, I took the leaf and I did it slightly different. I turned it on an angle, and I did trace around them as well. I have an example of a painting that I did with negative painting that really surprised me, but it's actually one of my favorites. I was going to be doing some peaches. Let me see if we can get this on here. Okay, that's not too bad. So when I put the peaches on the table, I looked at them and I didn't start painting. What I did was I did the same thing that we did with our multicolor background. I put these colors that were peach colors in my mind, and I just put those on the background. And then I went back in and drew the peaches on top of that background after it was dry. And then I went back in and put in the darks and lights. Now, because there weren't any real whites here, I took metallic gold and I just did accents of metallic gold. And I think it was very successful as a negative painting because I didn't paint the images first. I painted them second. Any questions? Let's see here. Is your paper tilted? This one? Let's see. Sue? Is my paper tilted? Not this, well, this one is in a frame, so I have, it only goes in a frame when I like it. So there you go. You know, I wanted to mention something, and I think I've mentioned this to,
Karen,
yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. What I meant was when you were doing, it just takes me time to get to the chat and then to type it, and then you already had gone on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. When you were doing the washes, was your paper tilted like at an angle, or was it flat on the table?
Oh, flat.
The blues.
Yeah, it was flat.
It was flat. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Let me go back. And you know, that's a very interesting question, and I'll tell you why. There's a thing I bought at IKEA, and when we can go out again, I'm going to show it to you. It's very inexpensive. It's like a couple of dollars. And this is what it is. It's like this little platform, and one side is a low angle, and the other side is a more drastic angle. But it's just plastic, and I can put this right on it. I'll show you what that looks like. That refers back to the question of whether it was tilted or not. If in fact I had this on this thing, I'll show you what'll happen, just for fun. Let's see. Let's make it dramatic. Does everybody see what's happening? So when you put something, and I'll tell you, often I do my drawing on this incline because I can see it better, but I very rarely paint on this unless maybe I wanted something like this to happen, you know, and sometimes it could be, you know, it could be interesting. And you can add more water. You can add water so it really, woo, there we go. So that's your answer, Sue. No, it was not on an incline. So whenever you're doing a flat wash, it really needs to be on a flat surface. A la the name flat wash. Okay, everybody got that? So the next time we can go out shopping, God only knows when that'll be, and you get over to IKEA, or maybe you could even buy it online. I don't know what they call it. I think it's under the office equipment, believe it or not. I was in there one day and I said, what a cool thing. You can put on your table and anything, you know, you can work right like that. And if it's something you don't want running paint, then it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Okay, let's go back to how are we doing with the drawing on the first page that we did. Mine's a little drippy, but
The flat wash is dry.
okay, let's start out with that flat wash. Take your leaves, okay, and I'm going to do this right along with you. Okay, I'm just going to take this leaf any way I see it, and you know, hold on to it, and then it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a guide for painting. And then, you know, and in fact, you don't even have to trace your leaves when you do this. You can actually sit down and draw them, but it's, you know, it's the kind of thing where this is a time saver and it's worth it. So you go around your stem or your leaves, however, if you have one, do it in a nice position. Okay, so this is what you should have right now. Okay, now because my leaves have veins in them, I thought it was a cool thing to go through and I'm going to put this masking fluid on again. You don't have to do it, but you can. And you just, you know, do it however you like to see the patterns. And this is something that's really arbitrary. You can look at nature and try to imitate it if you like. But if you find something that's a little more interesting, well, go for that. You know, so this is the veins. And every line doesn't have to be connected. You know, and then you can leave a bigger space. And you can make these double. You can make the vein in the center like wider or double what it was. For the smaller veins, you can go back and do that. But masking fluid is really magical. Someone was watching something on, was it Jerry's that had a demonstration?
Yes, they had Vic Hollins doing a demo.
How was it?
Good.
Oh, good.
She used the masking fluid. She called it Frisket.
Yeah, that's another name for it. That's another name for the frisket. Yeah. Years ago, when people were doing more airbrushing, which now it's become kind of a Photoshop thing, but years ago, airbrush artists used friskets very often to mask out areas that they wanted to change. Okay, so if you want to use the masking fluid, that's great. If you don't want to do it, then just draw in a very lightly a vein, or you don't even have to draw it. You can do it like later. Let's see. Wasn't keeping up when put the leaf wash. Does it matter what side of the leaf? No, it doesn't matter what side of the leaf you use. Okay, I just happen to, take the front side. Okay, now my my multi-color side, actually, it doesn't really bother me that it's not so wonderful. But we're going to do the same thing over here. And if yours hasn't dried and you just want to keep up, I would just take either paper towel or tissue and just kind of sop up if it's not dried completely.
Excuse me, Karen. Are we going to put the masking fluid over the pencil lines on the first one?
If you want to, you can. If you want to, I just did it on the veins.
Okay.
But if you want to outline it, there's nothing wrong with that. It could be really nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to the one that's multicolored, even though it's a little drippy, but that's okay. And you're going to do the same thing. I'll show you back where I was when I started the demo. You can see, I believe, there's leaves in there. It's a little bit different from here. Here I have them bleeding off the page, so there's mainly two and a little piece of another one. Here I have, because the box was wider, I had more showing. Okay, so that's what we're going to do also. You're going to take the leaves. Maybe I'll go this way this time, coming in from the other side or coming in from the top. Might be kind of cool. And the same thing with your pencil. Hold it down, go around. It's just mainly to give you the shape. That's really where you're headed here with the, it's not like a perfect drawing of the leaf. It's to give you the shape. And you can do this with any leaf or anything you find, or you can do it with something you're drawing. Like I showed you that example where they had the flowers coming through. Okay. So there's, is that better? I have this new arm and I'm trying to get the best angle on it. Okay, so now I have the leaves coming down from there and I have just plain color from the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to switch over and go back to the one I prepared because it's dry. So you can just hang out for a minute and just listen and watch or take notes. That would be great. Okay, now on this one, you have to sort of have a plan in your head. It's the same deal as the palette and the grid, and you have to have something in mind. So what I have in mind here is I'm going to try to do something that's maybe even gradated, but a darker green, and I'm going to negatively paint around first. That's what I'm going to do first. So you have to have these things in mind. Now, I'm using a bigger brush just to make it go quicker. But you don't have to do this, and you can certainly take your time with it. Okay, so the idea of a negative painting is to paint around an item in the negative space. Now, I know our gal that's doing the lily pads knows all about that, because she's deep in that. Okay. So see how I'm going around? And I'm just leaving the light green. And this is negative painting. Sometimes you do negative painting without any drawing. And it doesn't have to be perfectly rendered. You can have some spaces where you leave more of the green coming through if you want. Okay, so there we are. It's real quick. Oh, and now since I left this space up here, I'm just going to add a little water here because I want to add some interest there. And I'm going to do the same thing down here because I don't want it to be so flat. It almost looks like there's foliage behind it. How's everybody doing? Are we doing? Not yet. Okay. Now another thing, another adventure with this is you can get into the interior of the leaves. What do I mean by that? I'll show you. You can actually get in here and create these patterns. And you can leave some of the light green showing through. And this is really negative painting. You are painting the negative space, which is kind of interesting when you look at it. It's almost like a stained glass window. Anybody writing? No, no one's writing. Okay. I don't know if we're going to be able to take off this masking fluid during the time we have together, since it's so, it's kind
Karen, I'm sorry. I was trying to do and watch, and I realized it's impossible. I just have to watch. So I missed, when you put that masking fluid, I see that it has color. How did you get that?
Oh, you know what? It comes blue. In my masking fluid, you see, it comes blue. Some of them come white. Let me show you. This one happens to be blue.
Oh, okay.
In the jar. Some of them come pink. Some of them come white. Some of them come like a yellow color. But it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter.
Mine kind of came out too thick. Like
what did?
Mine looks a little like Elmer's glue.
Who's saying that?
Fluid, Manna.
Manna. Okay.
The masking fluid looks
Is it because of hold up what you're using to put it on with?
Here. What I'm using, I was just using this.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, Daniel Smith. They make a very good one. You think it's coming out too thick?
Yeah, let me hold it up. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Okay, it just has to do with the applicator.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And also, it has to do with the closeness and the angle of holding the bottle. If you hold it very upright, it's going to come out very heavy. If you hold it more on an angle, you'll have a better. And it just takes practice, man. That's really the ticket there.
Okay.
Okay. So getting back to here, I just want to add a little more of this paint so you can see. And you know what? We can actually change the color in here a little bit. I was thinking that might be an interesting thing, is to put some like a bluish tone in here. That's the interesting part about working this way is, you find your way, and you may find something that is really beautiful in the end. Of course, you won't know what's really happening until everything is finished. And you can take your masking fluid. That's the most fun part about masking fluid, is that it's always a surprise, no matter how well you plan it.
So how do you get it off? Oop.
You use this rubber cement pickup. Wait a minute. Where are we? Okay. It's a hard rubber block, and you just rub it. I mean, you can rub it with your hands, but everything has to be major dry.
Okay.
Major dry.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Aaron?
yes?
Hi, Cheryl. How do you
Hi.
feel? How do you feel about outlining? Like if you had with a very fine brush.
How do I
Um,
feel about it? Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you. Years ago, where are you, darling? I don't see you. Are you the one that draws?
I draw. I well sometimes.
You're the drawer, like me, like I used to
I'm
be.
the deck. I'm the deck. The deck chairs and the green fence.
Oh, okay. All right. So there's nothing wrong with outlining, but you know what? It seems when you're a watercolorist, it seems a little bit like a crutch.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're not convinced.
Right.
You're not
Yeah.
really convinced that it's what you want to say. You want to make sure. You're one of those that wants to make sure. I used to paint like that all the time, and after a while, I said, I know how to do this, and now I'm mixing some brown and blue together, and I'm going to add it to my stems. These stems, if you look at them, oh, where are we? They're kind of brown, so I'm going to go back in now and add some. I just put a little bit of this brown color in that one leaf, but I'm going to go in. That's a little bit too dark. Okay, let's see if I can get a better brown. Oh, that was a mistake because I should have tested it over here. So you see, even anybody can do wrong. Okay. So my answer to the outlining question is sure. Hey, if that's what it takes until you feel confident, then by all means outline. Okay, so you can see that we've gone all around with our darker color. We have the light color coming through, and we've added some color in there. So we have something that's kind of really interesting. Would you say not?
Yeah. Very
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go on. You can finish these, as you go. But I'm going to keep it going because I want to get to things as long as we have time. I'm going to get to this one now. Since there's a lot of really interesting color things happening in here, I'm going to try to paint inside the negative space, inside the leaves. Let's see. What does that mean? All right. Let me show you. So instead of using masking fluid or any of those other devices, I'm going to look at what is the shape like inside here. So I'm going to create these little shapes. I'll do a couple of them so you can really get the idea. So the space in between, the space that I'm leaving in between is really the vein. Okay, this takes a lot of concentration, and I don't want to say know-how, it's concentration and practice. That's really where that comes from. But when you're doing palm leaves, this has a very nice feel for that application. Whereas these leaves, could be anywhere. They could be foresty. What's nice is the background has, I did that on purpose because I could have left it completely flat like this one is. Okay, where we started, flat. Okay, so, and if you want to, get these where they have a little more life to them, you can add a little dark at the base and go back to okay, so that's kind of what that looks like. Now, if I go on the other side of the main vein, I'm going to show you what that looks like over here. And this is negative painting because we are painting in between. We are not painting the veins like like I did with the masking fluid over here. Maybe on the other one I'll do it directly. Okay, we get the idea? Okay, now that's that one. Now what if I wanted to do something different over here? Not that you would do this in your painting, but I'm just giving it as an example. Here, I might just go right up one side and up the middle. And I might do the other side. And the beauty of having this color background in there, that's exactly the beauty of it, is that you have something to show through, and then you could put a little water. So you don't want to get rid of what you've created, which is that background that's coming through there for you. Okay, so there's kind of another feel. I'll turn it around. Maybe I'll just add some water on the edge there. And then this final leaf over here, let's see. Why don't we just get kind of dramatic here? You guys can't see the palette that well. I'll move it around a little. Okay. All right. This one I'll actually draw the leaves in. And we'll talk about the outlining question. It depends on how you outline. Can you do it in a really cool way? Where it doesn't look like a coloring book? Can we make it look, I hate that word artsy. But you see, that's another way to look at it. Then you can go back and just with water, put some water in here so that your veins will bleed a little bit so they look more natural. And also you still have the color underneath is still coming through. Okay, we have any more questions? No? Okay. So here we have an example. Now I'm going to try to lift off some of the masking fluid from this other one here. The first one we painted, hopefully it's dry enough. So you take the whoa. Well, the background's still a little wet, but I think you'll get the idea. Okay, so here we have examples of how to paint when you have a multicolor background and you want to get your stems in there. This I would probably use something where it was like thicker paint. That's another technique, is where you can go in and use some really thick paint. Let me see if I can show this. If you put water, I'm just putting a little water on the side here, and then you go in with some really thick paint and you drop it into that. This is really good for things that look like they're growing. And you almost lead, you know, you can see where it almost looks like it. Is that's not the best angle. Here we go. So you put down water and then thick paint. That's really good for like evergreens and all kinds of foliage. Okay. I'll do another example of that over here on our other sheet. Any questions on this first sheet?
Yeah, on the masking fluid, could you have just gone over it and then remove it and have the same effect or similar effect?
Yes, yes. Well, you want to be able to paint negative spaces though, like this one, this blue one. I wanted some of the I want some of the blue to go over the masking fluid, but then I wanted some of that green to still show through. So it's a matter of choice. Okay, and it's experimental too. You know, you have to say, oh, do I like that? Do I not like it? You know, I have a pile of not likes, and I have a pile of likes. Okay, now getting back over here. Now, this who was that question?
Doris.
Doris. Huh? Okay, Doris. I think this will probably better answer that question. Let me see if I can go over the top of this. Okay, in this case, instead of painting around the leaves like I did here, the negative space around the leaves, in this case, I'm going to paint right on top of the masking fluid. Okay, and I think I'm gonna go crazy here and mix up a blue color because I just like it. It's kind of tropical. Okay, so now when this dries, you're going to from the masking fluid, you're going to get very thin light green lines. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, and that's just a matter of choice and how you like it to look. You know, everything in painting is, I shouldn't say everything, but you know, there's things to learn. Now I'm going to put some, what do you call that, brown on top of there. Okay, now what do we do with the rest of the background there? Well, there's some choices to make. Maybe we try some other technique. Now everything is wet, so this is going to be a little tricky, but we'll try it anyway. Okay, let's see, what is, if I put, I'm going to put like a darker green over the light green, and then I'm going to put the plastic wrap, and we'll get a sense of what that looks like. Let's see. This is a whole technique lesson here. All right, so I'm going to just put this on. Should be a little thicker. Okay. Okay, give it a few minutes to settle into the paper. So we don't want our what do you call it, saran to, I wonder if I can do a little bit over here too. Oh, I wanted to mention something about framing. I don't know whether everybody's has frames, or I know Camille, you mentioned a really good idea about going to yard sales and picking up frames, and sometimes you can get some really interesting things and put your work in there. There's another place that I've been using lately, and I just think they're fabulous. Their pricing is wonderful. The results, I mean, you can get something within 3 days if you're pressed for giving somebody a gift or something of your work. And I'm sure with this group, from what I've seen, I'm sure some of that is done. Okay, so we put this on, and now we're going to add this to the background because in this case, I think the saran might be really kind of cool. Okay, so I put it on there. Everybody can see? Oh, yes, good. And then I have another piece for up here. And you don't want to overdo these techniques. Whoa, woo, hang on. Sorry, rocking the boat. I'll just put this piece over here. For this week's work, I know that a lot of you have finished your paintings, and then you've done a cherry tree, which there's so many nice ones. I'm going to put them all on like one big poster. I'm going to take everybody's and put them together so we can see, you know, we have one idea, but there's so many ways to look at it, which I think is kind of fun. And I would love if everybody would try to do a flat wash, and it can be a small, you know, like a 2-inch square, 3-inch. Well, the bigger you go, the harder it is. So don't go too big, but a significant flat wash. I hope you're writing this down. And then a gradated wash where it starts from dark to light. So do a flat wash and a gradated wash for next week. And then I'd like you to try something where you're doing a negative painted area. Okay. Do we have any questions? Oh, I have a question I wanted to put out to everyone for our last assignment. This is week 3, and we have 3 more weeks. So we'll kind of like play catch up this week, and everybody can get to, you know, see where they are with all their work. And then the last 3 weeks, I'd like to work on a botanical looking poster, like with vegetables. How does everybody feel about that? Yay?
Is that like a still life?
Just don't. See this?
Yeah.
See where it has all vegetables? You can do all beans. You can do all kinds of tomatoes. You can do. You can do all peppers. You can do onions.
Karen, could you hold that up again, please?
Of course, yes. But I just thought, oh my goodness, it's a springtime thing, and we should be planting. And I might take a photograph and send this. How's that?
That's great. Great.
Karen, Marie Claire had a question about the size of the brushes. What size of brushes are you using?
What size? Well, today I normally, which I'm not of the normal, I don't think. I have a tendency to use a big brush. This is an 18, which is really big. But you look at that point. You see that point? Woo. This makes the greatest point. That's the real issue with a brush. You want it to be wide enough. Where are we? You want it to be wide enough to do a nice wash, but you want to have a nice thin point. This one is my second favorite. This is a number 6. So we have an 18, a 6, and the other one here, this is my, I have my favorites. This is a 10. So we have 18, 10, 6, and then for really, really delicate things like going back in and doing, you know, fine lines and outlining. Where's my outlining lady? I use this, and this is a 4. That answer? Somebody had to leave. Okay, I see Marie's there. Okay, so
Karen,
yes.
when I asked you about the outlining, I mean, I have a friend whose work is very, not abstract, but it's very loose watercolors, very beautiful. And then when she's finished applying the colors with the most finest brush, like a 000 or something like that,
Okay.
the line kind of just sort of, you don't see a full outline, you just see the hint of
Yes.
the shape. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, that's a whole different story.
Okay.
That could be very beautiful. I have a one that I did like that of a jellyfish, where I put on the color, and since it's underwater and watery, so I let all that dry, and then I went in there. Actually, it wasn't completely dry. Went in there with that tiny brush with a darker color and just did all the outlines and his tentacles, and it was very successful. So
that's basically more of what I was asking. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a real technique in itself.
Right. Well, you can show us.
Michelle, can we switch for one last time? Hopefully. Michelle. She's out there. She's in cyberspace. There we go. Okay, I wanted to just see what happened with the plastic wrap here. And that's kind of cool. Okay, now it's not really dry enough for me to lift off the masking fluid here. But if it was, you can see the light greens coming through, even in here. I think there's a lot of beautiful things going on there. Okay, now I didn't get to this one, but maybe that's something that you guys do, and you can send me your results of what happened. What happened on your single green, and what happened on your multi during the week. Are there any last questions? So this week was all about negative painting, and of course the saran or whatever, to have a technique. This is one instance where I want to say, when you're doing a painting, and to me, when I looked at that, I said it really needs some texture in the background, and that's something that you have to decide as you're painting. And it really made a difference to me. It just has some life now. It looks like this group of leaves might be growing within other things, in a forest or something. Okay, I think we're doing well. If anybody has any questions or comments or things they'd like to see me do, otherwise we're going to move forward. Do these examples during the week. Show me if you can. If you can, next week we're going to be, you should decide on what you want your veggie poster to be about, whether it's tomatoes, whether it's beans, whatever it is. I want you to decide that. And of course, you need to get some photographic reference so that you can paint from that. And you should be working from a photograph, not another drawing, not another painting, okay? Because they've already solved the problem. When you work from someone else's painting, it's already been solved. When it's a photograph, you're solving the problem. Okay, let's see. Somebody had to leave. All right. Okay, any last questions? Yes. Oh, we're waving goodbye? Okay. All righty, it's been my pleasure. I hope you're learning something along the way. I know you're learning because I can see it in the work. So it's my pleasure, and send me your stuff during the week, and I'll try to keep everybody posted.